Thank you very much for the introduction, Ruth. I think the most important thing here is that we stop to look at cities and communities as implementation areas for energy and infrastructure and transport and ICT, and we start to look at them more as the areas in which people live, in which they work, in which they spend most of their time. As you might have heard today or any other time, when we talk about energy transition, we might talk about carbon neutral cities, we might talk about zero emission buildings, or look at energy transition in a regional perspective, or maybe an international perspective. And at that point in time, the city looks like, one level of scale at which we somehow need to achieve a positive energy balance. The same for transport. You have to organize transport in a certain way within the city, within the region, or you need to make a data network, data infrastructure that also serves a city or a community. And that is, of course, fine for the professionals that need to make these kinds of calculations. The thing is that most citizens don't really care about that. Even a lot of professionals don't care about this. So, we live, we work, we spend all of our time in a certain area, and we want that to be attractive, we want it to be easy, we want it to be healthy, we want it to be comfortable. And yes, if in addition it is zero emission or positive energy, climate neutral of some sorts, that is great, but that is for most people not the main concern. So if we then also as experts could start to think of a different way of approaching this, not thinking too much about the calculations that need to be made in order to get it to zero or even positive energy, but how can we make this really an attractive area for people to live and work? And how can this positive energy balance, what kind of added values does it give in terms of comfort or health or nearby facilities, something? So, for example, when we work with different communities, when we try, or even with real estate developers or so if you say positive energy district, okay, for those that are, ideologically interested in energy, that might make a difference, but for most it doesn't. And even if you say then climate neutral or so these types of concepts don't really make a difference. So when we started to talk about local communities and about a 15-minute city, for example, that is suddenly something that more people can relate to. When you hear 15-minute city, it means that, you think, okay, so I have all my facilities nearby, I have everything I need to do during the course of a day, maybe my work, schools, groceries, any kinds of services are within a 15-minute reach. I can walk, I can bike. Then it makes it much more imaginable what this means for your daily life, and that this is going to be convenient for you, and probably also then more climate friendly, more resilient, more robust, because you are less dependent on outside infrastructure. So that is something that is much easier to convey. In terms of the energy calculations, it might be exactly the same. It might be zero, it might be positive energy, but a 15-minute city appeals to many more people. It's easier to get people on board. It's easier to get tenants on board. It's easier to get people to buy property within such an area because it offers an added value. Similarly, for example, in Finland, there's a city that proclaims that we are a city of 25 hours per day. Not 24, but 25, because the way we've organized it, the facilities, the services, everything is so convenient, it's nearby, that it feels as if you save 1 hour per day and you have 1 hour more free time because everything is so well organized. Again, that is part of a smart, energy-friendly, low mobility, low emission transport setup, but that is not what is advertised. What is advertised is that you, as a citizen working, living there, you get 1 additional hour per day because it is so convenient. So those are the types of qualities that we would be looking for when we work with local communities to develop actionable plans to make their community or their city energy friendly. Not the energy calculation, but whether it is comfortable, attractive, healthy, easier, faster, cheaper, anything of those, or anything that matters for people in their daily lives. Now, of course, that's quite difficult to do because, you can't just do that as an energy expert or transport expert or a social scientist. You need different sectors of people involved and you need to somehow work together. So that is where we as a university, for example, then often come in. As a university, we can be neutral, or as staff at university, we can be neutral. We can put together people from different types of companies, very small local ones or bigger international ones. We can work with a local municipality, maybe get someone from the region involved, a local NGO, a citizen organization, grassroots organizations, music festival, bring people together and start discussing what would be an attractive, actionable future for that local community. Something like, a 15-minute city, a 25-hour city, something that makes the local resources, the local, anything that makes it worth living within that area, that makes that stronger, and that at the same time then looks for opportunities to reduce energy consumption, to maybe increase renewables, to increase low-emission transport options, to get more nature involved, all of these. So that is where we put together all of these different experts, local citizens and communities to discuss this. And that is a type of working, a type of process that the European Commission now also has rewarded or is promoting in a way. So where you put together people from science and technology, different types of experts, together with cultural, creative sector, with local citizens and communities to look for these good local solutions in a process that they've then called the new European Bauhaus. So not the let's say, futuristic, the very innovative Bauhaus process there was 100 years ago that helped get Europe back on its feet after the First World War. But now, in this day and age with climate change, we have to look for a sustainable, climate-neutral future. We can't do that only by relying on technology. We can't do that just by thinking, more efficient, more effective. We have to find good, attractive futures for people in which they want to live, how to shape these communities, and what better way to do that than together with cultural, creative sectors, with artists, getting designers on board to help visualize what people need, what people want to prioritize in their daily life, get that combined with technology and, develop and shape those futures together. One more thing then is, we've started to make these kinds of processes. There are good examples from all across Europe. The challenge is that often when projects are being evaluated, we only look at the numbers. Energy efficiency, renewables, sector coupling, Of course, we need to do that, but in addition then, what we are trying to do now is to develop then good impact models that are able to measure, to document, to monitor how much more involved people are, how much they can link their identity to this new community, to these new solutions, if they feel empowered, if they feel involved, if they feel connected to the new solutions, because in that way, those solutions are going to last much longer than if you just, implement the technology. It's fun to use for a couple of months and then it's gone. So in order to get those long-term solutions, to make them sustainable, to get the community involved, we both need these good processes and we need better ways to monitor them. And so hopefully that combination is something that we are going to be able to develop in the next couple of even months. We are looking for different countries, for organizations that already have a proof of concept that we can use, that we can build on, that we can pull together different experiments from different countries, from different organizations, so we have better data and we can develop good models, processes, and indicators together. So if you're interested, please let us know. We can cooperate on this in Europe or elsewhere in the world. And yes, I look very much forward to a discussion on this. I hope it's been useful. And hopefully we can find a way to cooperate together in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Annemie, for that useful introduction and also for reminding us of the role of the citizens. Now, there are a couple of questions from the audience, so I'm going to jump straight to them. The first one is, and it actually complies with the question that I had when I was listening to you myself. So, how to build 15-minute cities if the trend in the developing world is large urban centres?
That's a good one.
Yes, it is.
Yes. Well, everything is relative, I guess. Even in large developing cities, of course, you also have a lot of local communities. And we know, we work together with several of these countries, and we've seen that people spend hours every day commuting to their jobs. And it's just a waste of time. So we have started then to look at how you can develop more local communities. Maybe you can't shift, big job locations, for example, overnight, but you can start to look at what kind of facilities could you make more available on a local scale? How can you make it easier to bike or walk within that local area and also have some attractive facilities and services on the way? We saw the big change, for example, in China between, let's say, 15 years ago, even, you could bike more or less everywhere. And then gradually more and more larger blocks appeared. A lot of those smaller textures, they were just eradicated. And suddenly, you can bike for 2 kilometers without having any side streets or so. And you can hardly bike because of the air quality. So, but that has changed again in the past few years. So we see that in several of the countries we work with, also in China, Singapore, India, Korea, much more attention has been given then to that local scale. What do you do locally where you live, where you work? Even if you might still have to commute between your house and work, what can you do in these areas then locally? Can you have more green infrastructures? Can you have some facilities? Do you have some nice attractive social spaces, etc.? So that trend is in fact already changing. We do hope that it can be expanded to more groups, because of course now often it's more for the very resourceful groups, let's say, and in a lot of areas still it is quite difficult. But yes, there are ways of working with this, and there's a lot of awareness among the local authorities that this should be changed. So we are trying to look for local solutions.